I'm Richard Carlton. Welcome to fmtraining.tv. I'm the creator of fmtraining.tv, where we create awesome video training as well as live streams, and of course some of those are paid courses. We are broadcasting and simulcast at 1080 high definition. I recommend that you make this your video as large as possible. Also, make sure that you go down to the little gear icon, specify 1080 if you can, if it works and you have the internet for that. That'll give you the best possible experience. Today is an open Q&A. I really hope you have questions, because otherwise it's going to be very boring waiting for everyone to surface. Okay, so questions from Ken. I'll start. I have a solution that uses the current date in multiple different formats: month, day, year, some calculations, figure, age. Is it better to set the current date and then the file starts up? Okay, really great question. So Ken asked this question about a get function. So briefly talking about this, so let's talk about this. The level of difficulty and what we're about to cover is in this range in here, okay? Maybe here a little bit, but I'm going to try to, it's a little bit more than like basic bunnies. Oh, bunny's here. Okay, so bunny. So here, so let me back this up. So bunny, so I'm going to make it bunnyable. So you do, there's basically, when you build a FileMaker solution, like we had this solution the other day where we were doing these errors and things here. So this is say a classic case of this. I view this as a form. So this is a person. Let's just say, okay, I'm going to go Command All. This has 500 records the other day. So then here's this person right here. And let's do this. I'm going to do a date of birth, DOB. Once again, this is personal protected information, PPI, or whatever they call that. And so what it is that you have to protect this information, because people could use it to steal your identity and stuff. So once again, if you're a person at a company that has personal, I mean, not just someone's name and address, that's not really a secret. But if you start keeping credit card, well, you shouldn't keep credit card information, but you keep any part of medical histories or date of births or anything that people can use to identify them, then you need to make sure you think about security very seriously. So I'm going to put the date of birth on here. Okay, so we'll say okay. And then what I want to do is I want to say how old, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this for the time moment, I'm going to make it a calculation. And I'm going to say that we would take the current date, right? So the current date today is a get function, right? So we would say get function, get. And then, so this is kind of going to, I'm teeing this up for you, Ken. I got to bring everyone up to speed with your question, then we can address the question together. It's very much a very similar question to what happened yesterday about calculations versus auto enters and things like that. And then I can put the person's date of birth on here. Now, what you would also do is you would say probably, put an if statement, so we can put that in here too. And I'm going to zoom in now on this so you can see this. I'm going to say if, hit return key. I'm going to say there's a test function to see if something is empty. You say is empty. I'm going to say if the date of birth is empty, then we don't do anything. We just do quote quote. However, if they're actually, if the date of birth is not empty, so this is true, this is false, right? Okay. I'm going to come over here to the false answer. It's not it's got data in it. I hate double negatives like that. So the other way I do this is I say there's no command called is full, but if you put not is empty, all you have to do is in your mind, when you see that, just say to yourself is full. Now we don't know what it's full of. It could be full of IMOG or some other unsavory substance like that. But it's full of something, right? So then it's positive. So then what we do is if it's not full, then we say it's nothing. So this is the true part. Like, I always like a true statement. Is it full? Then do this. Okay, so then so I'm going to put a return right here, put it down here. The returns don't matter in the calculation. The calculations don't give a flip about returns. It helps us can't see my face. It helps me visually see that, right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to say, then under this situation, I'm going to say get current date. I'm going to minus the date of birth, which is right here, and that's going to give us a value. So if it's if date of birth is full of something, then do this. Otherwise, it would do this math. It would be all hideous and stuff. It's going to be a number field, right? I'm going to zoom back out a little bit here. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to say OK. And so notice right here, it doesn't say anything because it's blank, right? It's not full, right? Pretty cool. And then we come over here. I'm just going to put 2/1/1970, which is close to my birthday. And it's going to say, now that is, anytime that you do math with dates, you get days. So I am 18,000 about days old, which is really kind of wild. If you do time, the results of basic math are seconds. This is kind of a fundamental important. So if you take a date and you add, so like we take today's date and you say +5, you're adding 5 days. If you take the current time and you say +5, you're adding 5 seconds. So what we would have to do is one more bit of function here. And I'm not looking at the questions deliberately. I'm going to go all the way. So if you're frustrated, I'm not intervening. I want to get through the thought, and then I'll look at the questions after that. So then what we have to do is we have to take this right here. We're going to copy it. We want to, is days, so we're going to divide by 365, okay? So what we say is take that value, right? I'm going to zoom in once again. We want that value, and we want to divide. So use parentheses to it's an operation order, basic algebra stuff, inside, outside. So it's going to evaluate this, then it's going to evaluate that to get together, and then outside of that, it's going to divide by 365, which is not even perfectly correct because it doesn't account for leap years, but it's close enough for government work, as we used to say. So I'm going to go zoom back out. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK. I am 50.34 years old. Now, I'm actually not 50 yet, but that's what it says. Then we would put a rounding function on this one more time for everyone. We're going to come back in here one more time as we play with it, and we go, shoot, we need it to round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy it into memory, my keyboard, Command-C. I'm going to get rid of it just for now. I'm going to put the round function in here, and I'm going to say, hit that. And then the precision should be, I'll just say 0. That's the precision is the number of decimals to the right, right? So I don't want any, I don't need like 50.1 years or something. And then there's your number right there, okay? It'll round it. You could also do integer. You could do a couple different mathematical things. So this is our date function right here. And so we're teeing all this up for Bunny so she understands what's happening. We come back over here. It shows that I'm 50. Makes sense? So now that we understand what's happening, understand that every time I flip the screen right here, say that it's 3/3/2000, okay? So you see that right there? It just did the math on that. Now, if I flip here, every time I come to here, let me go back to field definitions and verify what it's doing here. I say storage options. It's not indexing them. Yeah, so let's there's kind of a trap here for beginners. So let's say I want to find everyone older than 50. So I'm going to do a find, go in find mode, Command F. Command F, I'm going to say find everyone greater than 50 years old. Okay? And so there we are. And it finds me because technically that number is greater than 50. All right, so now if I go back to File, Manage, Database, I'm going to come back over here. I go storage options. It has indexed the field, which means that it has created that high-speed searchable index, if that makes sense, right? High-speed searchable index, which is great. The issue is here is that every day, like if we go to bed tonight, we wake up tomorrow morning, the date has changed, but the calculation has not updated itself. That's the problem. And so in a year, this will still say the same thing. Once it does the calculation, it doesn't know to update itself. You cannot store, so right here, it's indexing it, which means it's stored the calculation. You cannot store calculations that have get functions in it, 1, or 2, you're referencing remote data from another relationship. I mentioned this yesterday, okay? Because FileMaker doesn't know to update it. So the way you solve the problem is you make it unstored. So if you have a get function or you have related data in it, you say do not store the results. Only calculate it when it's needed, in plain English, when you see it or the user sees it. It'll go in here and go, crap, I got to recalculate, and it does it. Now, so I've done that now. So now as we go forward, you won't be able to tell the difference, but that number here is not saved. As I start to flip through records here, right there, that to display that 20, it wasn't saved on the hard drive. It wasn't saved in a file. It did that in RAM memory in real time. One calculation, no big deal. You have a list view with 1 million records on it, and it has to recalculate each one. Or if you have to do a find in here, right, like this, it has to recalculate the whole database before it can figure out what's over 50. It'll probably do it, let me see, greater than over 40. Yeah. So it did it pretty quick because I have a local file with really 500 records in it. But this is the kiss of death. So this gets into performance issues. So what we've done is we solved it initially the one way. And then, so if I go back over to our learning, we solved it here. Now we moved to this area here where it's like, crap, it's going to go too slow. So that's, okay, Scott, we're going to get to you. Do we have any other questions? So the issue, so Ken's question is like, so here's Ken's question. So we're backing up to Ken's question. The question is that what you frequently would do is you would say, so you have control over this. So once again, we're here, and now we're going to move into this area here. How do you solve this problem besides just having it go slow? Or it's fine for now, but then when you have a lot of users and suddenly you do a find and you get a little progress bar that goes across the screen, how do you solve that? So what you would normally do is you would do I would say current date, right? And I would make it a date field, right? And you're like, what the hell? And you'd say create this. Then I'd come back up here to this calculation. I wouldn't use the get function. I would just use that field right there. So I'd say current date. So now we kind of control things a little bit. Does that make sense? So now, of course, now it's negative 1970 because there's no value in this. But if I put the current date as today, once again, command minus sign, super important shortcut, command minus sign, command is current date. It just pastes it in for you. That's what I did. So now we're back to this. So the question that Ken is asking is, if we set it up like this, how do you manage that right there? And what I will tell you, that you can have a script that runs it on a robot. And say like you have millions of records and you have to update, say like you're an insurance company and you need to calculate the amount of insurances. If this person dies tomorrow in a tragic blimp accident, or their pet cat eats them or something like that, something hideously horrible that will turn into a meme online for us. What do we do? And what you could do is have a script that runs on SASE. So SASE is a script on server. Having server do this for us is the best thing. All the idea is that you would come in here and have server just come in here. It would put that date in there into all these. And then by it doing it in here, by you putting the data in here like this, it's actually stored in here. This data is stored here, and you update it on the script once a night. You could come back over to your calculation right here and not make it unstored. You would actually make it indexed. So then it would run really fast, which is the whole point. You want it for searching and for high-speed stuff. You want it to be like this. If you haven't gone through the time to set it up so you can make it like this, then it has to be unstored. So those are the two. That's on a scalable database. That's going to be slow and miserable if you're doing any searches or sorts against it. If it's just displaying the information on the screen, that's okay, right? But if you're doing a search against it, you're reporting somehow, adding it or averaging it or doing some sort of math on it, that's a kiss of death. So we want it on all. We hit OK. And then so now it's searchable. So now we have a great solution. Now the problem is that this only updates if we change the date here. So you would want to have a robot that once a day, say like at 12:30 at night or 1 in the morning, it goes into the system and it puts the current date in, and then it pushes it through every record. Nick does that at night with some of his customers. He will do that. Have this script, because you can tell the server to run that an update on the script like that. So you'd write a script, very simple. You'd say new script. I would say update indexed date, something like current, or update indexed current date. It's hard to see that a little bit. I can zoom in a little bit. So I create that, hit the return key. I have a script here, and basically you would do effectively you would go to the layout. So I would say go to layout. You're going to go to the layout. Then you would say show find all records. I still use the word find all from years gone by. Then you would say replace the field contents. You got to be careful with this. Dialog off, no dialog. target the current date, and then you would put in with a calculated result, you say get current date. And so I hit OK. So this script is what you'd run at the middle of the night, okay? And it would update everything. And so then all these would be high-speed searchable the next day. It's how I would solve it. So that is the answer to Ken's question. Pretty good. Eddie's on topic here. I'm going to stay with Eddie on this. With the DOB calculation, you can set the server to do it every day at 12:01. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, Eddie, when you did that. That's why I was walking through it. You must have typed this a little bit ago. But yeah, that's how you solve the problem. I don't know, I do it at 12:01 because I never trust the clocks on things exactly. But yeah, I'd give it 12:05. The reason I wouldn't do it 12:01, you have a lot of backups that run at the top of the hour. So I would wait till, like if you have backups that running at the top of the hour, having backups running in SASE and scripts running at the same time, FileMaker should handle it, but there's been times when it just doesn't handle it, if that makes sense. Let me bear myself up, but God, I'm huge. So yeah, so I would, that's what I get for being overly zoomed in. So I guess I can make myself a little smaller. Kind of wild. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, everyone. It's kind of a little, kind of crazy. All right, so yeah, so I would wait till like 12:15 or 12:10 or 12, whatever, you know, the backups will be done. I won't run into it. But that's a good one. Use current as opposed to global. Yeah, because if you have a global value, I don't know. Globals are generally not indexable. So you'd have to test that. Can you have an index field that's dependent on a global value? And how would that affect the performance? It shouldn't. But globals fundamentally are not indexable. So if you have a dependency on that, I'd have to check that. That's a good question from Michael. I'd have to run that test. I think Nick does the replace command in the middle of the night, and so he told me that he had wired that up for a customer about a year ago. I'm guessing that Nick would know to do a global, so I'm guessing probably not a global, right? Because that won't. Because here's the problem: the global is not going to recalculate everything, right? It's not going to. Because if you change, like, here's the thing: if we change this, it forces that math to change here. If you do a global, yeah, it can't be. It can't be indexed. Yeah, you can't be indexed. I mean, the other way of doing this, and this is where you get more in this intermediate line of things, is that, well, you're actually doing it with a script. Yeah, so I think global won't work on that for you. You can't have this be a global because then all these other values won't automatically update. They don't know to change. Does that make sense? Right? Yeah. So anyway. Because you want it stored in index. It won't, if this is a global, you change it, it would not know to, and this was stored right here, it would not trigger the update. It has to be unstored and only updated, force it to update every time you display the screen. See, the robot at night or the server is forcing every record to update. By you pushing it in there, you're not just pushing the date in there. You're pushing everything that's dependent upon that date to trigger an update and then to store the results. So it's not just pushing the date, it's everything that's connected to it will force a refresh. And then it's there waiting for you. Global won't do that. So, Eddie, oh, in terms of your delay time here. Okay, well, yeah, so once again, I'm a one-man band today, Miles. I'm basically doing this broadcast entirely on my own today. So what will happen is, yeah, so I don't know. I just make sure, yeah, there's about a minute delay between me saying something and you seeing it. Bunny saying there's a problem. Make sure, Bunny, that you adjust the resolution. YouTube, by default, the resolution is very, very low. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out here. I'm going to pivot to the next question. Okay. Colleen's here. Welcome, Colleen. Scott has a question. Okay, well, let me finish Ken's here. So if I put the current date in prefs, that the file gets updated on standalone. Well, yeah, but okay. So this, we got to do a video on the dependency tree. If you, okay, so Scott, you're thinking that if you put the date in preferences, right? Okay, so this is really important. Okay. this is really important. Let me look at Scott's question real quick regarding the drop-down menu. Scott, don't forget about this question, okay, for me. Really, we have we have one main conversation going. This is really useful. This is what I'm trying to tell you folks about stuff. So I'm going to go to tables. I'm going to create a prefs table. So I'm going to say I'm going to create that table. Up here, I'm going to call it people, right? And so that's the file we had. I have this prefs table, and I'm going to say, this gets back into other stuff, and I'm going to have 12 people decide that they don't like the way I do it. I do it this way. And for the moment, I'm just going to make it a calculation, a stored calculation for the moment. Let's just do it that way. Change. Okay. I'm just getting this preferences thing set up here. So I have a calculation that contains a 1 in it here. If I go to here, I'm going to do the same thing. You could do a Cartesian join for those of you. I'm not going to go down the road of Cartesian joins and explain that today. So you can mention it, but I'm not going to engage in that conversation. Constant. Create. This has a bunch of interesting stuff for us here. So I have an ID constant on both sides. I'm going to go to relationships. I want to connect preferences to people. So there will be many people here. I want to connect there will only be one record in here. That's what a preferences table basically is. It's a one record area. This is many records right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to any record here can see the one record right here. If I then go into preferences and I say the current date, okay, and I say create, and it's just a date field, right? So we say create that. That's great. And then so I'm going to pop a new window right here. I can zoom in a little bit. Whoop. Well, I could do it that way. Let me zoom back out. Okay, so I'm going to change this to my preferences over here. We have the ID constant, which should be, oh, there's no records in there. Here, let me create a new record. There's a new record there. So now I can see across there. So this is my, this is the preferences there. This is my layout for my my local people table. I have an ID constant here. This is I'll call it current date. I will say local for the time being. I'm going to change it. And then I'm going to come up here to the relationship. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to say how old local, change, and duplicate it. I'll say how old related. I'm going to change this. I'm going to go option. And on the related, I'm going to get the date from the preferences. So I can say go to the preferences. We had that relationship set up with, and it's going to get this right here. Here is your problem, okay? And this is what I'm going to explain to you. How old related right here. Okay, I'm going to go to browse mode here. I'm going to go to browse mode here. Here's the important thing on this. The goal when we're doing a search for Ken and for everyone here, the goal is to have this indexed and be searchable, right? Or the current date there, or how old the person is, how old. This right here has to be searchable and high speed. If this one right here is local, it's going to get the information from here. So let's say it's 6/25, or let me just change the year to like 2015, okay? The date will change there, okay? Now, if I come over here, how come did that not update? Oh, I didn't update it. Sorry, my bad. I must have not saved the change. If I go to preferences, I say current date. I hit OK. So now what we have is we have and if I put the current date in here, I'll do that. Now see what happened there? That's what I'm trying to demonstrate for everyone. So everyone here in the call is on this conversation, not everyone, but the people who are like Ken, they're trying to have put it in a global or someplace where they can cheat. You cannot cheat, okay? You're trying to cheat. There'll be time. Lean design allows you to cheat, but this isn't lean design. This is getting yourself in trouble design. So fundamentally, when notice I changed the date here. I'm going to change it to 2010. So this local date here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. This local date here is feeding that. When I change it, it will update. See that? Now, this one down here, right? If I click, see I clicked in there and it updated. So I clicked into it to update it. And so when I clicked in the field, FileMaker said, oh, we need to update this. And it goes and does the math. So say you're over here in the relationship, it's the middle of the night, we're gonna do the amazing technique at 4 minutes after 1 minute after midnight, and we're gonna update this and say, for whatever reason that we open this file and in 25 years it becomes 2025, right? So that way I can see the data. I'm gonna update and change it. I'm over on this record right here. Notice it didn't change, right? If I come back, if I scroll up, I'm gonna go to show right here. I'm going to go show all the records. So then you saw kind of an update, right? You saw that update. And so you come over here and we're going to change it to say 2030, right? Once again, it doesn't update. It updated in that case, right? And so what's happening is, see, look what it did. FileMaker, so first off, this calculation here is dependent upon related data. I said you could not store it, right? Remember, you can't do it global. If you have a global, you can't store it, or you shouldn't, because it won't work. And if you actually base it upon related data, FileMaker is going to, it's like a highway patrol or state trooper or the local police. Yeah, they're going to pull you over for doing stupid things in your copy of FileMaker. Get a FileMaker ticket for being dumb. What happens is that FileMaker goes, oh, you had it stored before, right? It was stored. Remember, it was stored. They came over here and it switched it to unstored because it saw the related calculation right there. It made it unstored, which means that going forward, when I have tons of records here, trying to search, A, this won't update very reliably, and B, when I do a search on it, it's going to go really, really slow. So once again, if you have a calculation and you're calculating against related data across relationship, it has to be unstored. Super, super, super important. Okay, so that's why I do things the way I do. So in the middle of the night, I'm going to be like, oh, in the middle of the night, we're just going to change this. That doesn't help us. In the middle of the night, I'm going to change the global. That doesn't help us. In the middle of the night, you have to come in here the hard way, and you have to come to a local date value, and you're going to have to push the date through whatever million records that is. If it's just a search for day, age, a problem, why not use a script to let the user enter the age which they are searching for, and then let the script make a date search? Yeah, you could do it that way too. TK55668 is trying to solve the problem backwards. It's not so much about solving the problem with the date. I mean, once again, if you put the date, it's clever, but the point is of this is having a calculation that people understand. He's saying that instead of actually ever showing the date on here, you would pop a window up, a dialog, and it says, hey, how old should this person be you're searching for? And then it does the math to figure out what the date range is and does a search on the DOB here, which would be indexed, which would be very fast. He's not wrong. It's solving the same problem the other way. The problem is I'm doing a really simple demo like this. You're going to have financial calculations that the people that you're building a database for are going to want that you're not going to be able to rewire as simple as a DOB. If you're clever, you can kind of try to get around stuff, but the point of this is the mechanics of it. Ken was desperately trying to weasel, and I had to pull Ken over and pull out my ticket book and write him a ticket for speeding with FileMaker. He was going 65 in a school zone with kids present. Not very safe, Ken, for you. I'm sorry. I'm going to give you a ticket. And you'll have to show up to court or pay that. So we need little sirens here, Miles, so I can pull people over. Woo! All right, Eddie Wooden had questions there. Ahmad just fired off 4 giant messages. We will get that one second. I want to take care of right ahead of you is Scott's question here. Scott, my question regarding drop-down or roll-up menus. Scott, what is your question? In a Valueless, how do you use and show the value's name and get the value ID without the ID, mainly in a portal? I have to concoct a demo for that. I guess you could look at starting point potentially. Or I could go into... The easiest way for me to do it is to go into FileMaker. And the problem is I have to not show a bunch of classified crap. Let me see if I can do that. Let me see. Recent. I guess I could go into finished goods and work on a maintenance release. Let me see here. So let me move that down there. Okay, it's down there. Oh, here's the main. Okay, there we go. I don't want to show all that. Okay, here's the maintenance release. So what I'm working on right now are people getting maintenance releases. So this is Elzo. Sorry, Elzo, I'm showing your email information, everyone. If you hate me for that, just fuzz that out. But this is a database here where we have this exact problem. And so this is our maintenance release. Everyone want to know, hey, where's my maintenance release? It's not an invoice. It looks like an invoice, but technically it's a maintenance release. This is Elzo's secret key, which will be terminated and shut down at some point. But there's a secret key for the moment. We'll have to get Elzo a new secret key because we just showed it to everyone. So if you click right here, this shows us a whole bunch of finished good products. If I zoom in a little bit here. So this is the issue. So we have a product database, and one of the products in there, I just have this one version of our testing, our player. Remember the video player for 19, and it's consolidated. We call it beta test. So I created a product for it to just keep it simple. It's product 318. But I click on here, it shows the ID number next to the name, so you could try to have it not show the ID number, just show the name, but then when you put it puts the number. I guess that's what Scott's talking about. My question is regarding a back up in a value list. How do you show the value's name and get the ID without showing the ID? So Scott wants to omit the ID right here. So what I'm going to go to layout mode. It wants me to go into cat bar if I'm not going to do that. Here, so I'm going to click on this field right here. I need to slide. Okay, I'm going to have to zoom back out, Scott. Sorry about that. It's a little bit unwieldy here. I can come over here. I can go into here. I'm going to zoom back in here. So this is where we have the drop-down list, and I have the maintenance available product right here. And it's a related value. So these aren't hard-coded values in there. These are values from the product table. So if I go show me that, edit that, here it is right here. It says that the values in this pop-up list or whatever are coming from this relationship right here in the products. Once again, I name all my relationships and my TOs and stuff with numbers so I can tell what they are. And then it says it's going to show this value, show values from this right here. If I specify it, it brings up, I can show, I want the ID product, and then show, also display values from the second field, which is the product name. So normally it would just be the number, which would really suck. So if I turn this off right here, you're going to only get you're only going to get just the numbers, which is really, so this is how most things start off when you're building stuff, right? I'm going to zoom back out. I know everyone wants to see it really big, but it's I'll be here all day trying to make this work if I have to do that. So right now it's back to this, which really sucks. So this is the opposite of what Scott wants. So what we want to do is go back to layout mode, click on the field. I'm going to go back to that over here. There's a pop-up right here. I'm going to hit the pin. I'm going to say edit it. It's going to say specify the field. I'm going to zoom back in so you can see it. I'm going to say also show the values from the product. It's called product. It's actually the name of the product. So we got that. Now, what we want to do is actually only show sort values from the first field. We want to sort values from the second field. Also display values. What we want to do is show values only from second field. So that's the checkbox right there for Scott. Okay, so Scott, wait, if I turn that on right there, I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to go back to browse mode. It should give me the inverted, the exact inverted stuff here. So if I click on it, it's going to get, yeah, so there it is. So now it's the inverted one. So you can't see the SKU number at all, but if I select something here, like let's say that Elzo just loves me and he's going to start buying like just tons of stuff, right? We're going to sell him the Super Platform 18 book deal, which is amazing. So it puts that in there, but it also put the 379, which we didn't see. So that is the answer to Scott's question. It's a checkbox in layout mode. And then let's see, Scott doesn't have anything yet, but you go to layout mode, you select the field, then you come back over to the right pane in layout mode, and the right panel, which is the data panel. If I zoom in here, there's your right panel right there. And then there's your drop down or pop-up list. I don't think it matters either one, pop-up menu. I'm pretty sure it works the same way. And then you find the value list, then you edit the value list, and then you say specify the field, and then so you're drilled down like 5 levels of drill down. Then you want this checkbox right there. Now I'm going to turn mine back on because I need to see that in my solution. But that's how you would do that. So if I come back over here, move the file like that, come down here, I select it, and see the numbers are back now. So then I need to go to 318. I'm not sure where 318 is actually in here. So that's why I like do the numbers, so I can see the numbers. Like there's 318 right there. So I put it in there, and then what did it just do? Wow, did it just make a giant mess, or is that my imagination? Wow. Okay, I screwed something up just now. I almost had it just right, but I got slightly speedily here, and I turned on something I should have turned on. Probably you guys are yelling at me like, hey, you didn't turn on the right thing. So I want to show that. I want that. Include all values. Second field. Show and values first sort. That's a sort. Include all values. Yeah, this might be a bug right here. I've actually had to run into this before, and I felt like an idiot. It's actually... Oh, you know what it is? I wonder if that's because it's in a pop-up menu versus a pop-up list. Maybe that's what Scott's talking about. I normally use a pop-up list. Pop-up menus get kind of unwieldy. Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Scott, is that your question? That little funkiness right there? That's a really great question. A really great. And it also screwed up the formatting here. I need to make sure it's centered. Format text, align center, like that. So when we switched it to the other, it's cooking in. That's an interesting, interesting. I always kind of wondered what that was. Nothing like figuring this out on live TV. If you go back to menu there, the behavior's a little different. The behavior should be identical. See, yeah, so it's only, actually it only has 195 in it, but yeah. So if you don't like the way that looks, then you'd have to put another field over the top of it, which doesn't really work so great in, well, it can work in WebDirect, but anytime you start stacking things in WebDirect, it gets a little more exciting. So hopefully, yeah. Scott, Ken's saying the same thing. Yeah, Ken, I think it's been this way since the dawn of time. And, and once again, we had the conversation about trying to teach someone to put the toilet seat down, and after 30 years that they don't. Do you really want to keep beating your head over the wall that they haven't put the toilet seat down? It's the toilet seat conversation. So anyway, yeah, so that is kind of the issue with that. But once again, you can actually put something over this and, like hide this over the top, right? Like not even see the skew, and then put that down below. And then to edit it, you would click a button that would jump in there, or you could click on it and script the trigger. I mean, there's a million things you can do. No, but I'm not a fan of Popup Windows. You mean Popup List or Popup Window? Because a Popup Window is this other thing. I don't even have one. I don't know if I have one here or something. But yeah. Yeah. So anyway, there's about, this is one of those deals where I can see solving this about 10 different ways. Pop-up windows, card style windows, you can do 100 different things. I just like to edit straight on here without popping a lot of windows. It always drives me nuts to do that. So anyway, I managed to screw up Elzo's order here. Let me go ahead and remove that. All right, I think he's mostly good. Okay, cool. All right, so then we had a bunch of questions. Hey, it's, I can't even pronounce your name. Tuake Kang, hello, welcome. Hi, how are you? Chip Johnson, how's it going? Mods, I'm going to take a look at a couple of mod questions YouTube. He wrote a book here. I have a doctor solution where I need to make a portal or graph where the x-axis always shows 40 represent pregnancy in weeks. And in this graph or portal, baby's weight corresponds to certain weeks where the mom had her visits, and with 40 records, blah, blah, blah. But the problem I can make, tile, the okay. I'm just going to stop you right there. You have, so we have if you watch our video training, Okay, hang on 1 second. Stand by. Stand by for the radio announcer voice. This broadcast is sponsored by fmtraining.tv, where you can get the greatest in FileMaker training, including on charts. Okay, so for a mod, for those of you, reminder, if you want to help support the channel, make sure you keep your bundle up to date. If it's expired, renew it, please. Either the complete bundle, which comes with a full copy of FileMaker and some other great stuff, or just the video only here. Open. So I'm going to open my training database right here. This is like where we manage all the videos for the video courses. I'm going to pop up the FileMaker is in the process of trying to rename the product. They don't like the word 19. They don't like 20. I think you're going to see 19 exist for about 3 months, and they're going to probably rename it to 2020. Would be smart, or towards the end of the year, or maybe they'll just name it 2021 for next year. I don't know. But if I come in here, this is the 19 video course, which you guys can already see if you're playing with the beta player, and you have a current subscription. We will send you the code. But down here we have a section on charting, and what I want to emphasize on the charting component is the yeah, I'm just checking out some data here. What I want to do is if down here towards the bottom, we have a section on charts. And what we want to do is printing, report creation, and custom functions. Where's the damn charting at? Did I miss it? Barcode. Oh, I missed it, didn't I? Integrations. I guess it's before reports. It's just kind of weird. Seems like, oh, it's in, okay. Printing and reporting, and I guess I should call it also charting, right? It's in here. So we talk about charting. Here's the deal with charting. The charts in FileMaker just bought a library online, kind of like a JavaScript library, but they bought a library online that they integrated it back about 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It's pretty limited as to how you display the data. So Ahmad's got a question where he has some very particular, very specific things that he wants to do. And in here, I basically say that if you're happy with the way FileMaker displays its charts and displays the data and displays the colors and things like that, then use the FileMaker charts. However, Ahmad is saying, I want exactly 40 items. That's okay. You can do that. Representing pregnancy and weeks, that's you can do that. And the chart or graph, the baby's weight corresponds to certain weeks where the mom had her visits. So you have to create a virtual list. So Ahmad is basically, when you build a chart in FileMaker, the data has to live in one of, let me close that, let me close this. If I go to FileMaker, I say, where'd that one file go? We have this one right here. If say we create a chart here, I'm gonna go to layout mode. It's kind of an important thing to understand about charts. You got a chart right here, okay? The chart comes up. Really what you have to do is you have the chart, you have a chart section here, you have data, you have the styles and data source. Before you figure out all this other stuff, you need to figure out the data source. The data source will be, and this is a testable question, the current found set of the current table, 1. 2, related records, right? Related records, and where like there's a field 1, field 2, field 3, and that's your related records, okay? Or that's this one right here. And this one right here, current record delimited data, that's a virtual list. You have to go back to our virtual list. If you want to really control your chart and tightly control it and script it, you have to use a virtual list, 1. Okay, so that's how you're going to get. He wants just certain records when the mom visited for the baby's update. So you're going to want to create a virtual list of and it would be 40 items, right? In fact, Calvin did all this in the charting video, right? If we go back to the charting video, LiveStream broadcast files. Is that this one? No, LiveStream demo files, chart demo 2020. Right, so here's the charting demo that he came up. And then if you go over here, you can go invoices. So there's the rough data charts. And there's some other charts here. Let's see, chart count type, name to bill. These are the charts, chart 1. Okay, here is the virtual list. So he created, this is like this, like, so if you had 40 different items here, you would have 40, you would create 40 virtual rows here with a script that would loop. We covered this in those videos. So if you want to know about those videos, we will you go back to our live training or our video player. It's actually in here. If you go into here, you go back to select a course. He just did this. We go to live streams. You come down here and you find the one on charting and virtual list down here. But it's in here with Calvin, right? External design, virtual list part 1 right there, 420, virtual list part 2, 421, and then probably the charting. Part of the charting was in here too that talked about that. So you're going to use a virtual list to construct the chart. And then if you don't like the way it visually looks, you're going to have to use a product like Fusion Charts, which is a third-party product. It's not that expensive, but it's going to, because you can't come in here and really say, I want this to be a different shade of yellow, and I want this to be a different shade of green, and a different shade. It doesn't work that way. FileMaker doesn't have that kind of flexibility with their charting engine. So you have to use a third-party JavaScript-based charting system. We have videos on that too. Anyway, so that's where that's going. Ahmad, the problem it has to make the child related to the grandchild which visits. No. Yeah, you're trying. So once again, you're trying to build the chart in such a way. If I go to layout mode here, I look at the chart, I double click the chart. Right here, I'm going to zoom in on this. You're trying to do this, okay? And I understand that, but you're going to lose. You're going to have potentially performance issues. 1, 2. You're going to have a lack of flexibility in how you do it. Whereas if you run a script that finds the records, that creates the virtual list, it will do it for you faster. And anytime you won't have a problem, because any problem you have, you can script around the problem. Scripts are unlimited. It's like the ultimate set of tools that can do anything. It can go faster or slower depending on how well you write the script, but there are really no limitations in the world with scripts. That's why when we talk about the training here, once again, I'm going to go back down to normal size. The beginners, this is the bunny people here. They're beginning their learning, and then you get to a point where you take things out of the unstored calculations and you put them over here, and we run it as a script. This is the people who are scripting everything. Somewhere between here and here, they're scripting everything, and they're not letting. So they're doing virtual lists in here, somewhere in here, but that's the idea with that progress. Trying to do the whole thing just through a relationship, you're going to beat your head against the wall, which is what Ahmad is doing. Cool. Charles is dialed in too. We got a lot of people here coming in at the end of the day. So once again, reminder, this broadcast is recorded. Every day we're broadcasting. We don't normally cover a Saturday, Sunday too much. In fact, it feels, for me, technically it's a holiday, but we've been going every day just to get caught up with all the broadcasts due to the FileMaker 19 release. So Ahmad, that's the way I would go back and watch the virtual list videos with Calvin, virtual list 1, virtual list 2, and then the charting where we talk about this specific charting file right here. A lot of times I can't answer all the questions in 1 hour, but I'm going to tell you where to learn the information because we've already covered it somewhere else. Cool. Ken says, got to run to another meeting. See you tomorrow. Scott says, no, I'm not a fan of Windows. Pop-up list on Windows PC. Yeah, pop-up list. Yeah, yeah. So it's, if you don't like the way it works there, then you pop a card style window. Scott, try it that way. That would be awesome. When creating a FileMaker, Bunny asks, when creating a FileMaker app, can you change the FileMaker icon, the name of the app store, so it looks like your own app? Yeah, so this is like my amazing sample file over here, right here. If I open it up and then I say File Options, is that in here? Yeah, there's the icon right there. So I could put in an icon of a bunny rabbit or something right there, right? You could do a custom icon and do whatever. So that's how you change the icon right here of that file right there, if that makes sense. Cool. So, Ahmad, thanks. Yeah, I feel bad because I'd like to answer all your questions to complete fullness. But some of the questions you ask are either we've covered it recently or it's just too big to fit into 10 minutes on a live TV thing. So Elzo, appreciate all the information. FileMakerHacks.com, dependency tree. That's interesting. I could go to FileMaker Hacks. I think that's Kevin Frank. Isn't that Kevin Frank's thing? If this goes to a porn site, I'm going to be very mad at you, whoever did this. Oh, Scott, yeah. FileMakerHacks.com. That's Kevin Frank's thing, I think. Yeah, this is Kevin Frank. So then you have to do a search in here on the dependency tree. The video he did is really great. So if it's in here, Kevin Frank has got some really great stuff. It's like anyone else, it's really useful. There's some pretty great stuff in here. The problem is, and Kevin, every developer has a complaint about another developer. My problem with Kevin only ends from the standpoint that he's like one of the big advocates of Anchor Buoy, but he's one of these guys that gets tired of the way the furniture is organized, so he moves the furniture around the office. We've had that conversation before. I've like my sales engineer or sales guy, license guy, Ryan Correa. When he worked in the office in Santa Clara, about every 3 weeks, he would move. He had his own office, like a 12 by 12 office or whatever it was. And he would move all the furniture in there actually it was more than that, like a 14 or 15 foot office, but he would move all the furniture in there. I'd put furniture in there, get it all set up, wired up, Ethernet, and then he would come in there and he would rearrange it so he could look out the window or have the window behind him, and so Kevin Frank was a big advocate of Anchor Buoy. Then he decided he didn't like Anchor Buoy anymore. Which is fine. He's plenty advanced. He's a big boy. He can figure that out. But I always get nervous when you have people who are really smart who move things around because they want to change the furniture. Because really there has to be a logical reason to change the furniture. He says he had a reason for it, but his reason doesn't have anything to do with training people. He wanted to do the selector connector, but performance-wise it's slower than Anchor Buoy. So it's slower in terms of raw performance on a big solution that's scalable. It's slower. It's harder to understand. It's harder to train people on it. But from a developer perspective, it can allow you to do a couple of things easier and faster than you would do otherwise. But once again, that's pretty deep stuff. So Kevin is pretty awesome. I like him. I just always get nervous when people who are big, they swear by something, then a couple of years later they change their mind what they swear by. And everyone can change their mind about stuff, maybe you hate cats and then one day you love cats or something or whatever. Or you love a Ford pickup truck or you hate a Ford pickup truck. That's the thing in the United States. Ford guys versus Chevy guys, that's just a thing. So anyway. Any other questions? Imon. I pronounced Imon. Yeah, Amon. Imon. So it's not Amon, it's Imon. Got it. All right, sorry. I think Amon was the evil sorcerer from Lord of the Rings or something. So sorry about that, evil sorcerer of Lord of the Rings. Welcome. But I think you're the one. Are you from Egypt, or are you the one from, where were you from? Dubai or something, I think. There were a couple guys over there from there. We lose track of that. We have a lot of people here. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up today. Once again, reminder, if you are a U.S. military service member, current, or you've just gotten out because you got an honorable discharge and you're done, or you're retired, you want our FileMaker training, it's completely free for you. I'm not making it free for the U.S. Army. I'm making it free for you as an individual because I know what the Army pays people. They don't pay them nothing, especially when they're getting shot at. It's not nearly enough. So if you're a Marine, Air Force, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, then you can get our complete training for free. So simply send an email to support@RC Consulting and put your MOS on there as well as your last duty assignment. And then we will get that off to you. We've been giving these away to our service members, either current, retired, or otherwise. And then for those of you who have questions about what we're doing, you have license sales, you want to know about 19, you have a question about anything, support@RC Consulting, and we will be happy to reply to you on that. Tomorrow we're going to be back with Christian Olson. Theoretically, he should be showing a little bit more updated information on the add-on modules. Once again, the add-on modules is a kind of a preview technology, and there's not a lot of documentation on it. People have been complaining there's not docs on it, but it's kind of a beta feature along with the app updater, the patcher tool we talked about. FileMaker is building this ability so you can patch a file. It takes a very, very, very senior engineer. Like, remember we talked about senior engineers. If I say your skill set is over here, then yeah, you can talk about making a patcher file. The idea is that someday they bring it down into here would be really great. But right now, it's not even documented. So you have to be a XXX Jedi Ninja to the 10th black belt or something to be able to do with that. So we're trying that, getting that going. But it's definitely on the deep end. And any training I do on it will be out of date within months anyway, because FileMaker's on this really fast rotation. So once Claris kind of solidifies a feature and they kind of glue it down and it becomes somewhat solid, then we will do put the recorded training in our paid course. Otherwise, we'll talk about it here ad hoc on our live stream, if that makes sense. That's great. Thanks from TK55678. Thank you, TK, for the FileMaker hack. I appreciated it. Ken, thank you. Scott, thank you. Imon, thank you. Egypt, yeah, Egypt for you, correct. Bunny, thank you. Regarding FileMaker Server, is this an application that you need to host yourself? No, you can either, if you don't have any technical skills and you want to have something hosted for you, you can use FileMaker Cloud. They combine the hardware and the software together into one price. They also take care of the SSL certificate. It works out to be, if you need like 5 users and you want something kind of a minimal setup, it's about $19 per user per month. If you want more than 5 users, you want 10 or 20 users or something like that. If you're an existing FileMaker person, you can get a discount, like an upgrade discount for like $25 per user per month. If you're just like fell off the hay wagon, you're buying this for the first time and you want 10 or more users, it's $39 per user per month. So it's not exactly free, but if it's mission critical and you don't want to maintain the server and you want Claris to do it for you, that's the way that works. We can talk about that tomorrow if you want. Appreciate everyone. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion, Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.